Greetings, fellow nerds and geeks. Why don't you pull yourself up a chair, grab yourself a beverage, and prepare to enjoy a geek-tastic conversation. Welcome to the Geek Easy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Geek Easy podcast, episode 53. My name is Pixel Dan.
I'm Jonathan Leonard.
And Marvel good yay, am I right?
You are correct. As it turns out, that is a factual statement.
It is definitely a factual statement for today's episode. For today is our Spider-Man Homecoming episode, which I am so excited about.
And it's, we did an episode. We said 2 weeks we'll be back. We were back in 3 weeks, but that was just last week. So now we're sort of back on schedule.
Sort of, because, look.
So it's like we're coming home.
2 weeks in a row, it's our homecoming.
That's right.
It's the Geek Easy podcast homecoming. Well, I don't want to, break our streak or anything, but I guess I should throw out there that San Diego Comic-Con is in, 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very possible that we may not be back until right after Comic-Con, depending on how crazy my life gets leading up to the event. But you know what? That's a good thing, though, because that just means we're going to have a ton of things to talk about post-Comic-Con.
So coming soon, 4-hour episode.
Exactly. I mean, so many things are going to get, revealed movie-wise and TV-wise and toy-wise. I mean, there's going to be so many things to talk about. Plus, it's always fun to kind of talk about my experiences at the show, too. So that will be a good one to look forward to. But today, it's all about that Spider-Man movie because you and I both got a chance to go see it together, which is awesome.
And rare.
It was a rare occasion these days, but we both went to the IMAX last night. Before we talk about the movie, we should totally talk about our crazy IMAX experience,
oh my goodness,
right?
Yeah, well, first of all, before we even get into it, is there any other tidbits, any other things? Is this episode all Spider-Man?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything specific that I really want to bring up other than this, but it's also because we just saw it, and it's it's just in my brain, and I'm ready to talk about it.
Yep, so, and I'm on the same page. So
okay.
So the only thing we did see, there was some news earlier today that apparently Jeremy Renner broke both of his arms filming a stunt for the Avengers.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I don't think they were terrible breaks. It was like his right elbow and his left wrist or something like that. But he was slinged up in both, and they didn't necessarily mention if you can't stop a movie with that many parts because of one guy. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's not going to slow us a lot down. But he even said he had other projects that were less physically, that used a lot less physicality that he was still working on, like in the interim and stuff like that. So he's still trying to get it done. So
he's still working.
Way to go, Jeremy
Renner.
Good
man,
get it out there and get it done. I guess.
What a machine! He's gonna have a real hard time firing a bow.
Yeah, exactly.
And
there's so much shooting left, and then there's so many reshoots to do. Yeah. So my guess is, even if they're in the middle of something that they really needed them for, they can probably just move the schedule around and do it later. But it's always tough news to hear about somebody getting hurt. But at least in this case, it sounds a lot more dramatic than it is.
That's good. Man, 2 broken arms. As an archer. That's way worse than that time Green Arrow got one of his arms ripped off in The Dark Knight Returns. I think Hawkeye just called Green Arrow a punk. Oh man, look at, even without trying, we're DC bashing. That's ridiculous. We're awful.
We weren't going to find time to.
I like The Dark Knight Returns.
Anyway.
Sweet. Okay, well, you want to just talk about Spidey?
Yeah, let's dive in. So, spoiler alerts on?
Spoiler alerts are on, absolutely. We are going to get into the meat and potatoes of this movie as we're discussing it. So if you don't want to be spoiled and you haven't seen the movie yet, save this podcast for when you've watched the movie.
Also, if you haven't seen the movie yet, shame on you.
Oh, yeah. Come on, guys.
It's been out for almost 24 hours now.
What are you thinking?
And
you can't possibly have anything more important going on in your life than Spider-Man right now.
They were projecting that the box office could reach up to, around the 100 million mark for the opening weekend. That sort of bummed me out when I read that because, the first one in 2002 made waves as being the first movie to ever make over $100 million in the opening weekend. And the franchise has just fallen so far below expectations since Spider-Man 2, really.
Yeah.
That now you have this big, exciting one coming out that's got Marvel influence and a great Spider-Man and even Iron Man in it, and they're still sitting there going, "Oh, it might make almost as much as the one 15 years ago did."
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But you gotta earn the trust of the people again.
I guess that's true, because I will say for sure, like, and this is always what I was kind of worried about with all of the reboots with Spider-Man, and I know that we've discussed that whole thing in the past and worried about like retelling the origin story and stuff, but there's been so many people that I've talked to that aren't really in the know on this kind of stuff, you know, not like the nerdy or geeky kind, but, you know, just kind of know what's out at the movies.
Yeah.
Who have all been very confused by this whole thing. Like I've had a lot of people ask me why there's another Spider-Man movie, why it's a different kid again. They don't understand because that other one just came out. Like, I've had a lot of that specifically, like, at my day job. And, like, trying to explain to them, you know, oh, this is better, though, because it's part of the MCU. Like, it doesn't really click. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that is a challenge. That's a challenge when you're talking about, you know, just like the I don't even know how to describe it, like the mainstream audience, I guess, for these movies.
Yeah.
And I do think that while that has certainly gotten better over the years, I think a larger portion of the mainstream audience gets what the MCU is doing now. But there's still a lot of people.
There are. I mean, you know, you're talking about the mass population.
Yes,
there are plenty of people who just catch a movie once in a while.
Yes.
And, you know, there are people who have only seen Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. Now, most of them seem to like what they see, and you would think this is Spider-Man's such a well-known character that the interest is always going to be there. It's just to what level that interest actually lies, you know. I would think the hardest time they would probably have with stuff like that would be like a Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you know? If you haven't seen the first one somehow, even though it was such a hugely popular movie, but again, if you're talking to just, you know, normal everyday people who aren't necessarily into the nerdy stuff, they just like entertainment once in a while, if they look at that and they're like, I don't know who these guys are, and it's the second one, you know? But
I specifically remember talking to some folks at my day job about Guardians of the Galaxy when it first came out. Somebody had asked me if I thought it was a good movie, and I was like, oh yeah, I loved it. And like the other person's response was, the one with the raccoon in it? I don't get it. You know, like they were just so like they didn't understand it all. That just is so weird to them. And I thought that's one of those standout moments where it's just like, man, I'm on just such a different like plane than you know what I mean?
I was just like when that reaction came along, I was just like going, yeah, and that raccoon's Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, that's
because most people just didn't believe it.
Yeah,
if they didn't already know, they didn't believe it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I guess with Spider-Man, one of the things that might be good about this though is the kind of word of mouth deal. You know what I mean? Because if this movie breaks this weekend and makes a bunch of money, but then the word spreads on how good it is, that's definitely going to draw more people out to see it, I think. And this could be one of those movies that maybe doesn't hit the big numbers right away, but will eventually because of that. Maybe because Spider-Man is that franchise that's been kind of dwindling for the last several years, and people just need to understand that, oh, it's really good now.
Yeah.
And now it's time to go see it again.
It'll be interesting to see how the money shakes out. I mean, because $100 million is no slouch by any means.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, if that's all it makes... That's still a pretty good amount of money there.
Right.
And even the worst performing of the movies, I'm sure Amazing Spider-Man 2 was probably the worst in recent history, at least, performance-wise. And it was over $600 million, I think, worldwide.
Wow.
You know, I mean, they're cash cows.
Yeah, absolutely.
A ton of people are going to go see it. It's a matter of how quickly they go see it and how long the legs are once it runs. And I think that's where the word of mouth is really going to help.
For sure.
Not so much necessarily the first couple of weeks, but, 2 months from now when this thing is still playing in a couple of theaters here and there, because it just won't go away because people keep coming back. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
Right.
Can they tell that we loved it?
I think they've pretty much got that. I mean, we opened with Marvel Good Yay. I don't think there's any denial at all that we love this movie.
Yeah,
I mean, it was so good.
It is amazing.
We can't forget to tell our IMAX story before we
go
go
for it.
So,
go for it.
Well, because I think we mentioned on the last episode that we just got an IMAX theater here for the first time. So we've always had to go to one of the neighboring or larger cities usually. Like St. Louis has IMAX theaters, and that's where we went a lot to go see IMAX movies, was the St. Louis area. So our local theater just put in an IMAX theater, and this was my first time using the new IMAX theater. So this was my first experience with it, and I was like, man, Spider-Man's the perfect time to break in the new IMAX theater. And it was really nice. Like, I like the design of it, and the chairs are awesome. It was awfully hot in there. I don't know what's going on with that.
Growing pains, I think.
I think they're just trying to work some stuff
sometimes
out.
in regular theaters you sit down, especially if they're not usually, on a Thursday night, I'm sure there hadn't been 10 people in that theater all week throughout the week. At any one time. Now all of a sudden there's 200 people in there.
Yeah, it could be.
They just that's just part of kind of like learning how to regulate better.
Right.
But it was super hot in there.
Right. So we ran into some technical difficulties with it, which was getting a little scary there for a little while, because we seriously sat through the 10 or 15 minutes worth of trailers, however long it is, and right as it got to the part where it starts setting up for the actual movie playing, like they do all the whole, now it's time for the movie, blah, blah, blah. When that thing came on, suddenly the color palettes were all messed up and swapped. It was like bright neon like green and pink. And
it's like a Coke trailer.
Yeah.
A Coca-Cola trailer.
Yeah.
And it was after, because the attached was Black Panther.
Yep.
And then that Coca-Cola trailer hits where it's like, all right, be prepared for the movie now.
Yeah.
And it just flashed all pink. And you could just see shapes moving in the background.
Yeah, that's all we got.
Oh, no.
And we were like, oh, great, this is going to be horrible. Now, we were hoping, I was just sitting there going, well, maybe it's just this little clip. It'll clear up before the movie starts.
We went to a 10 o'clock showtime at 10:10.
Yeah.
And there was a second one in that theater. There was a 7 o'clock already. So I wasn't worried yet, because I was like, well, it's weird that they screwed up this trailer, but sometimes you just put the wrong file on there.
Right.
Basically, that's how the digital projectors run, is you basically just put the files down for the trailers you want in order.
Right.
And then the little blurbs about, please turn your cell phone off and go enjoy a Coke and all that stuff, you just sort of put them in order and you go. Well, if it's a certain format of movie and you put a different format of blurb on there, sometimes it'll screw up the presentation.
Yeah.
So my thought was, well, this thing, they just put the wrong one on there probably, and nobody noticed yet because nobody was in here in the 7 o'clock to see, and nobody bothered to complain because the 30-second Coke thing didn't look right, so no big deal. And then it moved on to the next thing, and it was still, it was, what worried me the most actually was that it wasn't as pink anymore. Like, it got a little better.
Yeah.
The second thing that played, but not enough to it'd be anywhere near a fix.
Yeah.
Just enough to where it was doing something different now. And that's usually scary when it does something different all of a sudden.
Right.
And then the actual movie file itself started to play, and there was just more pink hazing. So finally the lights come up, the screen turns off.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, well, they're up there to fix it now. Somebody let them know. All's well. No big deal. Well, then it pops back on, and it's just got this big pink line down the right side of the screen. And I'd say, probably a tenth of the screen.
Yeah, like
is just bright pink. The rest of it looks
obnoxious.
normal. And then bright pink. Well, color-wise, the rest of it looked normal. It looked kind of scrunched in.
Well, it was scrunched in. It wasn't the full width or length of the screen anymore. It was kind of like letterboxed in, so we weren't getting the full IMAX thing. And then it had that giant pink streak down the side of it. So it was super obnoxious. And so they started playing the movie, and it came back with that, and we were just like, oh, great. And then they shut it off again. And they were kind of working on it. And at that point, they had already sent somebody in there. They were like, the movie's going to play, but it's going to be a little bit while we try to figure it out. So just hang tight, guys. So we were like, all right, that's fine.
Well, they came in, and they're like, we're pretty sure the pink line is stuck there.
Well, that was after this. Because first they were like, the movie's going to play, don't worry. We're working on it now. But then it came back, and that pink line didn't go.
Come in twice.
Yeah, and the pink line didn't go anywhere. And that's when he was like, all right, guys, well, that pink line's stuck there. This is just how it's going to be. So we're going to play the movie like this. If that's a deal breaker, you guys can go. Like, that was, it was absurd, dude. Like, I was sitting there like, what, for real? Like, that's just our options? Like, you're going to play the movie like this or we can go. Okay. And obviously, like, he meant we can go get our money back, but still, it's like, come on, dude. Like, that's not good customer service. Like,
you can tell I was up late.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
And that was, we were in a 10:10 show. Sometimes they have 10:30s, 11s, whatever else. They did not. You know? Like, that was the latest showtime already, and our problem didn't hit until a half an hour in because of the trailer pack.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, can we go to a later one? Like, nope, there was no later one. There was one that started 10 minutes before yours, and it worked fine. So it's a half an hour into the movie now. You know? And you're like, well, that stinks. What's the options then? And I went down and talk to the kid because I've got some experience there, so I just kind of wanted to see if I could figure out anything what was actually going on. And he basically said that they had some problems with the earlier one also, but it ended up sort of fixing itself inexplicably and playing fine. So they assumed it would be fine for this one. And the whole trailer pack had played through, and it was perfect. So there was no reason to expect anything was going to happen, and then it all blew up. And they've only had that theater for like a month. It's all new equipment. It's there's a learning curve there. Plus, there's more things that just go wrong to where no matter how much you know how to do, sometimes you just have to have the technicians, remote in and fix it, or give you special instructions, or who knows what else. So they got on. I talked to the manager briefly because I don't want to be in his way too much, and he basically said, "Yeah, I'm going to try to give IMAX a call and see if we can't get this fixed." And I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I was like, "All right, we'll get that done." And I went back inside, and they had basically, when they restarted it, the entire trailer pack had started again. Except it still had that pink line down the side. Still had that pink line.
This time down all the trailers, which weren't like that before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I walked back to our seats, and one of the people we were sitting with was like, "Hey, are you staying?" I'm like, "If that line's there, I'm not staying. I've waited too long for this movie.
Right.
I will just sit there and stare at that line and be mad for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And miss everything. So I'll just come back tomorrow.
It's just too hard to look past it, right? Like, when it's there, like, first of all, we paid for an IMAX experience. So when the picture is distorted and not right, and we're just going to sit there and try to watch the movie like that, it's distracting, but also doesn't feel right because we paid for an IMAX experience.
Yep, that's the thing. Yeah, you paid the surcharge for the best experience possible, and you're getting the worst experience that they'll let you sit through. But I told him too, I said the bright side though, as long as this trailer pack this is going to buy him time to actually get a hold of somebody and get this fixed, so let's hope for the best. And I remember when it finally, I don't remember which trailer it was, because there were some good trailers on there too, it's so long.
It was so long. I mean, watching them back to back. It's just like you're done with it.
Yeah.
Like, no.
And there was a point in the middle of one of the trailers where my buddy starts nudging me real hard. I'm like, "What? Like we've already seen it, man. What?" And he points over to the side. I'm like, "Oh, the line went away. Okay, cool. Well, there's only like 2 to 3 trailers left." And my first thought was, now that they have it fixed, maybe they can skip past these straight to the movie. And my immediate second thought was, I hope they don't try to do that.
Yeah.
It's working now. I hope they just don't touch it and let it go. and then the funniest part, it got to the Coca-Cola trailer, and the Coca-Cola trailer played fine. And so then, like, the actual movie, it was time for the actual movie portion to start, and everybody started cheering because it was working okay, and it immediately had, like, a color blip where things, like, went wrong. Yeah. And again, our buddy just screamed, "You all just jinxed it!" And then it cut back. Everybody, you could almost feel the tension in the room because it was like, "Yay! Oh,
yeah,
and
no."
And then it cut back to normal, and then the Marvel logo came up, and then everything was good.
And everything was good the rest of the movie, so it fixed just in time for us to see the whole movie perfect. Yep. And they gave us free movie tickets when we left.
Yeah.
So they went out of their way to actually comp us something at the end. So I did feel better at the end of the night. I was real mad at them there for a minute because I was just like, this isn't good.
Yeah.
You guys are not handling this right. But they made up for it. So all was good. We saw the movie, and now we can go back and see it again for free if we want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when they had a problem. They couldn't have predicted it. They couldn't have done any better to solve it, and then they tried to make it right at the end. And that place does a pretty good job of taking care of people more often than not. So kudos AMC.
Definitely.
Thanks for the pickup there.
There you go. Yeah, and thank you for our movie being awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to stay and watch it last night. That would have been heartbreaking
if
we
didn't. I kept thinking, I'm like, okay, but now I have to come tomorrow, so I can't go podcast about it if I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And I'll be sitting in it while we're supposed to be podcasting, so this stinks. But, hey, we're here.
AMC Springfield almost ruined the podcast, guys.
Hey, come on now. IMAX almost ruined it.
Oh, IMAX. IMAX almost ruined it. Blame IMAX. But we're good. We're here. So let's talk about Spider-Man. Where do you want to start with this?
Man, I don't even know the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just kind of...
Just remember how spoiler this is.
Yeah, we are going to talk about spoilers, because there's just a lot of fun things that I definitely want to talk about, all the fun Easter eggs, the cool references.
We will ruin every second of this movie if you haven't seen it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, the beginning of that movie is a great place to start, because holy cow did I love the way this movie started. Because, first of all, the whole thing opens up... going all the way back to, again, the New York incident from Avengers. Which I love that we are seeing how much that one incident has really affected the world, like in so many different ways now. Because all of the Netflix shows have basically happened as a direct result of the New York incident, you know what I mean? So we've seen that stuff kind of play out. Obviously, the stuff from S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of spawned from that whole thing, you know, and then all these movies keep kind of referencing it. And this movie, like, specifically, like, that incident is kind of what causes... I mean, that's the rise of our villains for this movie, which is really cool. So it's just that neat effect where we're seeing how the whole universe is really connected, and that's a great way where just immediately they're just like, look, this Spider-Man is straight up in the MCU because boom, here's the Avengers incident, and it's the reason that this whole movie's happening right now. And I just thought that was so cool. It was a great way to kind of introduce the villain to us.
Yeah, and they just start right off with Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
As Adrian Toomes, and he's basically running not a construction crew, but a cleanup crew.
A cleanup crew, yeah.
Yeah, and they get this big contract to go and help clean up all this alien tech from the city. And immediately, like before they even get started, government crews come in, commandeer the scene, tell them to, leave everything that they've picked up. We're sorry, but we're going to be taking care of all of the cleanup now by government mandate, so nothing we can do for you, sorry. And you get this very real sense of sort of urgency from Michael Keaton right away, like, hey, I've got a lot riding on this, I've put money into equipment for this because we have this contract.
Yeah.
You can't just come in here and take this job, that's going to ruin us. And they're like, well, nothing we can do about it.
Yep.
And come to find out pretty much immediately that the company that now has the contracts is a company Tony Stark has started called like Damage Control or something like that. And so basically what they're saying is Stark went in and took the government contracts to clean all this stuff up. From the outside perspective of the audience, knowing that he's a good guy, the big part of that you think is, well, he's going to make sure that it's very well contained and that the alien technology isn't falling into the bad hands and all that sort of stuff. From the perspective of the movie characters, though, Michael Keaton even says it right away, or actually I think it was one of his goons who said it, like, so these guys make the mess and now they come in and get paid to clean it up.
Yeah.
And we're just sort of stuck here doing nothing. And so it puts that bad taste in your mouth right away for kind of how things are going. And, that pretty much shifts into 8 years later, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that's a big jump, right?
Yeah.
Because what year was Avengers?
2012, I think, is when the Avengers came out.
So 8 years later would be
2020,
which is later than it is currently now. Yeah,
exactly.
3 years later than that. Now. How does that work?
Well, we've talked about it before. The Marvel timeline is always very interesting because they never put specifics down there, but they give you strong hints here and there. Just like with Doctor Strange, which I know we talked about on the show, and we just talked about earlier today when we were kind of going through how that went, because Doctor Strange started, like you said, at the beginning of it, they show some New York skyline and there's no Avengers Tower. And then later on into the movie, they do show there is Avengers Tower. And then by the end of the movie, Avengers Tower is kind of like wrecked up.
Yeah.
And so it kind of like, you don't really know exactly how long that of a span that movie goes, but it's a couple years
it's
at
going,
least. It seems,
over the span of other things happening that we've seen in the MCU.
And so they sort of do that thing. So this, I believe this 8-year mark is one of the most definitive time stamps I've ever really seen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that the Avengers was set in 2012 just because it came out in 2012. It's sort of got that comic book obscurity to how time works, which is great. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you don't need to know this was this year, this was that year, that was this year. You just need to know how much time was between there and here, which is enough time for Peter to have been, he would have been a 7-year-old kid, I guess. This is half his life ago, because I think he's 15 in the movie. But he was a 7-year-old kid in New York, so he was around for this stuff.
Yes.
It's given Toombs and his crew plenty of time so the point where they flash into their operation the next time, and it's fully up and running, and they've got this alien tech that they're building and testing and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't feel like they just woke up one day with some Chitauri guns, and all of a sudden they had flying machines the next day.
Right,
they
had
put
some work into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
And it just gives you the better feel of like Iron Man's role in everything. There's been a large span of time where he's been Iron Man too.
Yes. Not
that was something, you knew that anyway because they've been making Iron Man movies from the get-go, but it really put a concrete amount of time, whereas, even from the time the Avengers hit, this is 8 full years later. So, and he was Iron Man for a while then. So as he's taken on kind of this mentor role to young Peter, it really feels like he has the experience to handle that.
Yes.
It's not like he's a rookie himself and he's trying to teach some kid. He's been doing it for a decade now.
Yeah, exactly. So when it jumps to the 8 years later, this actually is one of my favorite parts of the whole movie, because basically what we get is a short little recap of Peter's side of being recruited and brought in for the big Civil War moment that we saw from Captain America Civil War, with the big fight on the plane hangar and everything, the airport fight, the awesome airport fight where Spidey first showed up. So he's basically vlogging, but it's like his own personal, because it's funny because Happy Hogan's like his driver, and he's like, "Why are you filming? You can't show that to anybody." And he's like, "No, it's just for me." And he's like, "Well, why are you narrating it then?" Because he's like basically just doing this vlog of getting like picked up by Happy and being taken to wherever the fight was happening, and he's like, "I don't know what's going on, something about Captain America going crazy and I need to come in," and so like it's hilarious, and you just see this whole thing of him like being excited and explaining what happens, and then like you see his camera's point of view from when he flipped into the fight, and he keeps running back to the camera and talking to it during the fight, which was my favorite part. Like he's sitting there talking to the camera explaining the fight he just had with Captain America, and then you see Ant-Man grow into Giant Man behind him, and he goes, "Oh, he big now. I gotta go."
Yeah. like he just kind of like drops the phone, so it's just pointing into the sky, and you can hear like a scuffle going on, and then all of a sudden you hear a whack, and you see Spider-Man flying through the sky.
The whole thing was just delightful. Like it was just so much fun, and just immediately gave you that, oh my God, this is what's been missing from Spider-Man feeling, right? Like it was just like, this is so fun, and we're having like all this fun watching him, and it's exciting, and you can feel his excitement because he's a kid.
Yeah.
Right? You got that whole like real like excitement factor of him like getting to go and mix it up with the Avengers and everything, and it was just like it just kind of bled through the screen and got you excited and happy.
Oh yeah,
I loved it.
I mean, it sucked you right in. It
Absolutely.
Set the perfect mood.
Absolutely. So after we get all of that cool little recap, that's when we finally get brought to present day. And now he's in New York, and he's got the suit. Tony drops him back off after the Civil War stuff, lets him keep the suit. So now he's the Spider-Man, and he's got the costume that Stark gave him, and he's ready to like he's ready to be an Avenger.
Yeah, because it's that scene from the trailer where he's like, "When's our next mission or whatever?" And Tony's like, "Well, we'll call you, but if you need anything, call Happy, and we'll keep tabs on you, and we'll just go from there." And he's like, "All right, cool," and he's still super excited. And then they kind of go a couple of more weeks forward, and he's just leaving messages for Happy Hogan, like, "Hey, here's what I did today. I'm checking in with you, and just kind of waiting until I can do some more." And that's kind of one of the central themes behind his character. The whole movie is, like I've got all these powers. I want to be able to do more, but I'm just sort of stuck.
Yeah.
At ground level, waiting, and I just want to fly.
I loved the little montage of him like going through the city to help people as Spider-Man. Like he saved that, he got that stolen bike, but then he didn't know who the owner was, and he's just like, "Hey, yo, whose bike is this?" And then he just left that note.
Yeah, which was another thing that ran throughout the movie. He just kept leaving notes everywhere, which was so awesome.
That's so Spider-Man.
It's so Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was like, "Is this your bike? If not, don't steal it." Yeah. Spider-Man. that was great. And then like he was giving an old lady directions, like he was pointing, like telling her where to go and stuff like that. He was just doing these very menial tasks, which was great. Or like
that one where like he's on the roof and there's like a hot dog vendor or something. And I'm like, hey, are you Spider-Man? Yeah, do a flip.
And he just did what? Yeah. Dude was so excited.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, Spider-Man.
And then he thwarted the guy from stealing the car, which was just a guy trying to get his locked keys out of the car. Oh, man. Like, the whole neighborhood came out and started yelling at him. Yeah. Remember? That's his car!
Because the alarm was going off. So they got all those people who are like, hey, come on, man, I work at night. You gotta calm this down. And a couple people are like, that's his own car, leave him alone. And then Stan Lee's there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just yelling at him. And then gets into a conversation with his elderly neighbor out of nowhere.
It was so weird, but hilarious. I mean, it was chaotic and funny, and I loved it. But yeah, that was really, really great. So I think one of the things that this movie did really well that we never really saw with the other movies was his whole balancing of being a high school kid with being Spider-Man. Because in the other movies, they always kind of rushed through the high school part of it and then got him out of high school, basically, you know?
Yeah, like right away.
Yeah, like this movie actually puts him into high school and plants him there, which is great, and that's how it was in the books for a long time. I mean, that was the whole becoming Spider-Man story has to do with him struggling between the two. So you really get that feel of him like, well, now he feels like there's so much more important stuff out there than school. So school doesn't matter to him anymore. Even though he's this incredibly intelligent and bright kid, he has started dropping out of all of his extracurriculars. He doesn't really care about his tests and stuff anymore because all he cares about is putting on the spider suit and going out there and trying to help people. And I just thought that they really played that up so well. That was a really cool theme throughout the whole movie. And then they really hammer that in all the way through, because and they've always done that kind of before too, but they really, I thought, hit a good chord with that, where he was having a very hard time with his responsibilities or running off to save the day. Yeah. And there were several occasions where he would have to ditch his friends or ditch a dance.
It wasn't always responsibility. Sometimes it was the stuff that he as a teenager was really looking forward to or was working towards, or, you know, like, I mean, he's, you know, the love interest in the movie.
Exactly.
He actually has opportunities where he can spend some time with her, and she's receptive to it. But when those come along, something else happens in the background, and you can see. And, you know, and the kid does a lot with his face. Yeah. Just in those moments where it's like just that you can see his mind torn on what to do. And
what's the right thing to do here?
And it always ends up being, well, I got to be Spider-Man. You know?
Yeah. I mean, like, do I hurt his or her feelings and go save the day, or do I stay here and, you know, be a kid, be Peter Parker?
Yeah. And I liked also that he wasn't... especially from the Maguire ones, you got sort of the feel that he was just the uber nerd and super socially inept and whatnot, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, because I've got some of the feel from that from the old comics and everything too. Right. But I liked in this iteration that he was definitely that nerdy kid, and he had his bullies. I liked that Flash Thompson kid.
Man, Flash Thompson, I like the way they handled him.
Exactly. He wasn't like the jock type.
He wasn't a jock.
Yeah, he was just a super jerk to Peter.
Yes.
And he was good at it.
Well, and I think a lot of this has to do, too, with the way they they did a good job of modernizing the kids, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they made them feel like modern-day teenagers. Yeah. So a lot of it was very updated. So, yeah, we didn't have the stereotypical jock that was picking on him. He was also another smart kid, but he was obviously the cocky, you know, cool smart kid. Yeah. And he was going to push Peter around. And he
wasn't as smart as the other smart kids.
Exactly.
He was like the second-rate smart kids. Exactly. Which he used as like his, you know, that was his motivation to be such a jerk, because you had, you know, Peter, who's obviously the smartest one of the bunch. Right. But isn't even showing up half the time. And always has these wild stories about this internship he has with Tony Stark and how he's met Spider-Man and he's met the Avengers and whatever else. And you've got this kid who plays second fiddle to him when it comes to intelligence. Right. Sitting in the background there going, none of that's ever happened.
Yeah.
That does not happen.
Like, no, that's not true, Parker.
Yeah,
he's right there to shut him down and make him look stupid in front of everybody else. So he was still the same character in essence.
Yeah.
They just modified him a little bit to fit in with the modern setting. And also, like, it was like a smart school.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? It wasn't like a normal high school. Like they were at like a smart.
I didn't really. Actually,
yeah, they were at like.
Now that you're saying it, I'm thinking back, and it all makes sense.
They were at like a tech university or something. Like it was one of those high schools for like the smarter,
gifted
kids. Yeah. No, not the X-Men.
No, different gifts.
Not that kind of gifted. Yeah, but yeah. So like they kind of did that, but I mean it totally worked fine. Yeah. It was really cool.
But I liked that he wasn't like a complete outcast. Like he had his friends, and even when with the love interest thing, he was very apprehensive and nervous about the whole thing. But you always got the impression from her that she was receptive to him.
Yes.
So like even then, it was like it felt like high school. Everybody wants to be liked, and nobody knows who doesn't like them, and they assume that they're not liked, but in reality, everybody's cool for the most part,
Yeah.
And I really liked that dynamic, and I really liked how Peter fit into that because it kind of gave him that extra layer of, he's not just some putz who got superpowers. He really is just a great kid.
Yeah.
And now he's got superpowers.
Yeah. He wants to do the right thing, but he's still trying to figure it all out. Mm-hmm. And it was great. I love the dynamic. I thought it worked so very well. And it was cool to see them really dig into that with this. And you just got to like, I'll say this, like, I really liked the Maguire Spider-Man movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think everybody did, especially when they first came out. Mm-hmm. I don't know if like, honestly, I haven't watched them in a long time, so I'm not sure how they hold up compared to modern. I watched them
earlier this year. They hold up.
So I really liked, especially 1 and 2, obviously. I really liked those movies a lot. But after watching this one, I just kind of feel like this movie was treated so much more seriously than even those movies were. And I don't mean that like as in like it was a serious tone. I just mean like the characters and the world felt like it was more legitimate than even the Maguire movies felt. Because even the Maguire movies had their campy, this is a comic book movie feel to them, you know what I mean? And this had that full-on like MCU, like, we're treating this with respect feel. Like the movie itself felt more real than all of the other versions have before.
Well, you have when the Raimi Spider-Mans came out, they were of a newer breed of thing.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, the X-Men's were the closest thing you had to it, and that sort of paved the way for these to come out. And then they were juggernauts.
Right.
They were just box office gold when they hit. But it was still new territory. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of, you had to build that world that was, we know we're a comic book, but we're going to be a little bit more serious than a comic book. But like you said, we have to have the camp here and there. Plus, that's sort of Raimi's style.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't think those movies could have been more perfect for their time. I really don't.
I agree with that.
And if they had tried to make this movie in 2002, I don't know that it would have worked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, like the Raimi movies were so special for what they were and for the time and like what they really did to the genre. I think we've talked about that before. Like X-Men opened the door, but Spider-Man just friggin' blew it down and really opened up this whole world of comic book movies for us. Yep. So you got to give them credit for all of that.
This movie has a world that was already built, so it's got a much bigger sandbox that it gets dropped into.
Yeah.
And Raimi was super respectful to the source material. You could tell he loved it.
Right.
He didn't eat, sleep, breathe Spider-Man, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, this was Marvel's baby, and now Marvel is the people who are in control of Marvel are the ones in control of doing this. So there's a lot of factors there. I will never say anything disparaging about the Raimi movies, and I hate walking out of something and the next day going, it's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Because you got to let it sink in. But it regardless of where you rank them, you have to look at them as different entities when all is said and done. 6 months from now, when we look back and go, well, maybe I did like Spider-Man Raimi more than Spider-Man Homecoming, which I doubt. But maybe I'll say that.
Maybe, you never know.
But it still won't be because one. I think they're both just about perfect. They're just perfect in different times and different worlds.
Different times, different ways. Yeah. But I think what you kind of said a minute ago really is a factor and noticeable. Marvel got their baby back, and they treated it that way, and you could tell. Like, you could tell that they were like, I mean, Spider-Man is arguably Marvel's most important character. Probably is Marvel's most important character.
I don't know how you could argue that.
Yeah, okay. So, yes.
From a comic book standpoint,
they were finally able to make a movie with their most iconic and important character, and I think they did an amazing job with it. I really, really do. And while we're kind of talking about this, I think it's a good time to cut over. A good part of that has to do with the villain in this movie. Oh, for sure. I definitely think that Keaton's Vulture has to be the best MCU villain since Loki, and probably ranks up there with Loki as the only two like real iconic villains in the MCU. I feel like, because that's always been a problem with the Marvel movies, is their villains have never been that exciting, aside from Loki, who was incredible. Everybody loves Loki. But, you know, like, all of those movies, like, they have their villains and they're fine, but none of them are really standout or exciting and don't even really live past those movies. You know what I mean?
Which, in fairness, I think part of the problem with some of that is that they're, you know, before the villains had a chance to sink in and grow on you, he's dead.
That's true. That happens a lot. That's why I've always kind of been against killing the villain.
Yeah,
like, that's such a cliche comic book movie thing, and I hate that.
I just rewatched this week the first Iron Man with my kids, because I'm going to take them to see SpiderMan tomorrow, and so I was like, well, I'll give them a little bit of background. I mean, they know
Ironmonger,
but you know, and Jeff Bridges was really good.
Bridges was awesome in that movie.
Really good. Yeah. And if he was an overarching, you know, if they didn't have a Loki that popped up, if they had kept him around for a few movies, if they knew then what they know now, and had decided to make him, you know, a 2 or 3 movie villain or something like that, he might be up there. I don't know.
Or I mean, like,
but he was dead too quick, you know.
Well, we got Red Skull in the first Captain America movie, which is such an iconic Marvel villain, but I mean, we got nothing with him after that. Yeah. And
I would have bet money he would have been back.
Me too. Like,
right
they kind of left it open, like it wasn't necessarily a death.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the whole cosmic cube thing, so he could be anywhere, right? You know? And I know we're building up, like, the whole Thanos thing, but it's still, like, it's not... I mean, Thanos still isn't really a thing. He's just there.
Yeah.
He's like a...
Nobody knows about him.
Exactly. Nobody knows.
The Guardians do.
Yeah, the Guardians.
And nobody knows about the Guardians.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, like, Vulture was just such... Like, oh my gosh. Like, Keaton was amazing in this role, by the way. I mean, he nailed it. But he was a relatable villain.
Yep. Perfectly grounded.
I mean, he was grounded, but still very comic booky. Like, you know what I love about Vulture? Vulture wasn't trying to take over the world or destroy anything. Dude just wanted money.
Yep.
And not
even like I want to be NFL star rich.
Yes.
And buy crazy things. You know, he had a good contract for a decent pay to take care of his family, and it got robbed from him by people who gave him no chance to stand up for himself or do whatever else. So he went, you know what, fine. If that's how they're going to treat me, this is how I'm going to treat them.
Right.
And it was super relatable. There's a speech he gives towards the end, you know, getting close to the bigger fight, and it was sometime collaborator with the show here, Jared McCaffrey, I was sitting next to.
Yeah.
And basically the gist of the speech was, you know, I'm just trying to do this to protect the people I love. You should understand that. And Spider-Man says, well, I know that selling alien weapons to criminals is a bad thing. And Michael Keaton comes back with, how you think your buddy Stark built that tower? You know, and as soon as he said that, Jared looked over at me and goes, pretty sure I'm on the Vulture side now.
Sick burn.
Yeah, like I think I want him to win. You know, and I'm like, yeah, like absolutely.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
I mean, there's such a close parallel between he is basically an Iron Man that skewed slightly
the wrong direction.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, he went the other way.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, there's so much depth to the character, and I mean, Keaton plays it so seriously,
he's so good.
I love Keaton so much.
Yeah.
But like, and I love, and you know, I'll throw this out there too. I loved the look of the character. I thought the costume was great. I feel like it was probably the best looking Spider-Man film villain we've seen so far, because first Green Goblin.
Doc Ock looked great.
Doc Ock was great. Yeah. And I think of the Raimi movies, he was the best looking villain.
Yeah.
Because I never really hated the original Green Goblin, but man,
product of its time.
I
think you could probably do a Green Goblin now. I don't know how you would work it in and make it feel like it, but you could do it special effects wise.
Oh man, look what they did with Spider-Man. They could do a Green Goblin now.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's eyes were moving like they do in the comic books in this movie.
Well,
we could get away with a Goblin.
There was an explanation for that though.
I know.
I'm not sure if they can do that with the Goblin being just a mask, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
but, hey, I want them to do it.
Even if they helmeted it or something, it will probably still look more comic booky Goblin than what we got before.
Yeah.
Somebody on Twitter, and I don't know, it was just one of those things I saw scrolling through Twitter, but they put up a picture yesterday that just said, here's a reminder that this happened just a mere 5 years ago, and it was a picture of the hairy Goblin from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was the absolute most horrendous.
Yeah.
Like, he looked like Beavis from Beavis and Butthead.
He did.
It was awful. Plus, that movie had a terrible looking Electro in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like really bad.
I liked Jamie Foxx. I did not like the look of Jamie Foxx.
That was so I did not like that at all. So
and, it's because the crazy look of Electro, and the way that the character was portrayed, like his origin story and everything like that. Even it felt it felt like something out of a Schumacher Batman flick to me. It was way different than anything I was used to. And again, I didn't hate it for any means, but I wasn't attached to it either. And then you come over to this, and this Vulture is not the Vulture I know from the comics at all. The guy in the comics is a geriatric.
Well, there was two versions, right? Because didn't he get younger at some point?
At some point,
they did something where they de-aged him, right?
But the classic.
The original one was the old bald guy.
And he's basically just a burglar, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Essentially, with a flying suit. And this isn't that at all. I mean, Michael Keaton's an older guy, but he's not like, the old Vulture was much older than this particular Toombs came off to me.
Yes.
And he was a lot more driven, a lot more focused. There was a lot to his story, but the costume didn't look the same. The origin was different, the age even was off, but it was all built so well. I didn't think about any of that stuff.
Like
I just loved what I was seeing.
I was totally down with it. The look was great, and I did love, because it still felt kind of comic booky too. Like, he was wearing like a bomber jacket basically, or a flight jacket because he was flying, but I loved like the fur on the top that kind of gave it that classic Vulture, because his costume had like kind of that fur on the top there, And like he had kind of like the clawed feet that he was using to pick things up and carry them, which was so cool.
Such a cool effect.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the whole thing looked great, and he was just a great character. So, how about that reveal? Did you see that coming? With Peter's love interest when he went to pick her up for homecoming?
And in fact, the marketing swerved me.
Yeah, me too.
On that,
me too. I thought because I remember first hearing that they had cast a Mary Jane for the movie, and I think we kind of talked about that, right?
Yeah.
How they had cast. Did they? Because they outright say that it was a black actress that was going to be playing Mary Jane this time?
Well, they cast Zendaya, I think is how they cast her for the movie.
Yeah.
And then, so it was official she was cast. They didn't say who she was.
So I think everybody thought...
And the immediate speculation was
she was going to be
Mary
Jane.
Yeah.
And I think even the early trailers, I was like, I'm not sure exactly who that is.
Well, and we talked about it on the show, I remember, because there was outrage because of the color shift thing. And I remember looking at a picture of that girl's face and being like, no, that girl looks like Mary Jane.
She could totally be, yeah.
Yeah, Kirsten Dunst had red hair. That's where the similarities ended. This chick looks more like her in the face. She's got, with the eyes were a little more kind of slanted, and just her facial features. When I looked at her, I saw that character.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I didn't understand what.
I think mostly it was the redhead thing, because she's like always been one of those iconic redhead characters, and honestly, I think that's probably what the biggest issue was. People were like, she's supposed to be a redhead. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I just want to believe that that's what the problem is. I'll just leave it there. Yeah, we'll go with that. But no, her character's name was Liz in the movie, right?
Michelle.
No, we're talking about his
the daughter.
Yes,
Liz.
We're talking about Liz. We're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay.
So I want to talk about Liz first because, so like through the whole movie, that was kind of like his love interest, and I wasn't familiar with this character at all, so I didn't know if she was just kind of created for the movie or not. But then we got to that big reveal when Peter went to pick her up for homecoming, and we found out that her dad was Vulture. Which was awesome because it totally caught me off guard, and I was just like, holy crap, it's about to get real right now. You know, as soon as he answers the door, and like Peter's got, oh my gosh, through that whole scene, Peter can't stop staring at him.
Yeah.
He's just got, his eyes are locked, and Peter doesn't know what to do, and it's just so intense. Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
The marketing shortly before the movie had come out, when it was finally, you know, you get closer and you start to see character lists and whatever else, and they had listed the Zendaya. I'm so bad with names. I'm sorry, Internet. One of these days I'll start doing the research on how to say stuff before we get on here. But her character was listed as Michelle for a long time. And then as it got closer, somewhere it was revealed on like a call sheet or something like that the character was Michelle Toombs. So you assumed a relationship between her and the Vulture.
Uh-huh.
Like she was the Vulture's daughter, was the assumption.
Okay.
There was a Peter Parker love interest at one point named Liz Allen.
Okay.
I'm almost positive.
So they're just really shifted all this stuff around.
And so when they kept referring to this girl as Liz, I just assumed she was Liz Allen. I don't think they ever said her. Well, obviously they never said her last name.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of ran with that.
Okay.
And so I wasn't even considering it when that door opened and Keaton was standing there.
Yeah.
You know, it got me completely off guard.
Wow. Well, they did a good job hiding that.
Yeah.
And that was just a great scene too, especially when they were in the car on the way there and you saw Keaton put the pieces together.
Yep.
Just by listening to the things his daughter was saying and realizing where Peter was at the same time as Spider-Man. And like he just had that moment where like you saw the realization come over his face and you're just like, oh crap, this is not going to be good.
Yeah.
This is not going to be good.
Yeah.
And you had that real intense moment with Keaton confronting him, basically saying, look, you saved my daughter's life, so I'm going to let you off right now, but you never talk about this again. You never get in my way again, or I'm going to have to take care of you, basically.
Yeah.
So then
and
that brings us...
super intimidating.
It's super intimidating. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Like, probably the most intimidating villain moment we've had in one of these movies.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Well, and that just brings us to one of those most amazing moments where Peter has to do that thing where he has to decide what the right thing is to do. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, he's just like, no, I got to do this. And he makes the decision to leave her and grab his old homemade costume and go out there anyway. Yep. Like, oh my gosh, it's, true hero right there.
I love how he was hiding supplies around the school.
Yeah, like under the locker. Like he one hand picks up all the lockers.
Yeah, like an entire row of them, and he's got a bunch of web fluid and a suit down there.
That's amazing. Yeah. That was so good. Well, do you want to talk about Michelle since you brought her up just a second ago?
Yeah, we'll get, because that, the one super downside I had to this movie was the way that they sandwiched in the Mary Jane appearance.
Yes.
As awkwardly as they possibly could. And for a movie that was masterfully done, start to finish, the whole way through, for them to just sort of force that, it just felt off to me. And I hated it. They basically do the thing where this Michelle character who's been around the movie the whole time, and she's cool, and she's friends with Peter, and she's one of those real aloof girls.
I will say, I totally liked Michelle a lot. Yeah, her scenes are hilarious.
Yep.
She's kind of like this loner character is the way they play her up. Like, she's always there, but she's too cool for everybody kind of character. She's one of those loner types.
Well, and that's the thing, like loved her, wanted her to be Mary Jane, except they kept calling her Michelle.
Yeah.
Still kind of had that thought in the back of my head where I'm like, well, if they figure out a way where this is the character, like, that'll be awesome, because I would like to see that going forward. And then they actually did it, and I went, nope, they just forced that. Because basically what they do is, at the end of the movie, she's in all these smart kid clubs with them. So she's on like the debate squad and stuff like that with them. And when Adrian Toomes gets captured, and Liz ends up having to leave the school, and so she was like the captain of the debate squad, and so now they have to pick a new one, and the teacher nominates this Michelle girl, and out of nowhere, she's just all of a sudden. She had been very standoffish, very loner-ish, even though she was with the group. She kind of was doing her own thing the whole time.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, this scene, she's just like, oh, okay, I'll be cool. And by the way, my friends call me MJ. I'm like, why? Why did they call you that?
That was the reveal.
You know?
Oh, my friends call me MJ. And then you're supposed to do that whole, Yeah. But instead, I was like, what?
And
why?
And also, like... So she's not Mary Jane, but she is Mary Jane?
Yeah, like, that's the thing. Why is she Michelle?
Yeah.
I guess that's my problem with it. Like, we're doing that thing again where we're like, let's do some change for the sake of change because it'll be a really cool swerve.
Well, yeah.
Except, no, it didn't work.
It's not a cool
didn't
swerve
work
at all.
for me.
And again, I understand that they wanted to do the surprise with... Vulture being the love interest dad, and they did great with that.
That was awesome.
And part of that was
serve.
the marketing to where, you know, when I'm reading all the background stuff, and I try to stay away from a lot of the details, but I couldn't not read anything because I was too excited. So you read snippets here and there, and you catch stuff. So I had seen stuff about the character names and whatever, and I just one of those deals where I didn't care much either way. I just want to see how it plays out. But then. So they did a great job on that respect of listing her as this Michelle character to throw you off the scent, and it really did work because they ended up making me think she was going to be the Vulture's daughter, and she wasn't. But at that point, like, you've already lied about her character's name. Why do you push forward? You know, it's like, well, we're going to call her Michelle so we can lie about this stuff. Well, you're lying anyway. So once the movie actually starts playing, there's no reason to say her name at any point. You could have gotten through that whole movie, never said her name. No one would have realized she wasn't a Michelle because they wouldn't have heard any different. And then she could have just been Mary Jane at the end.
Exactly.
I don't know why you went out of your way to throw that stuff in there just to... I don't know what happens next.
You know what that feels like? That feels like the one thing that was Sony's idea. And Marvel Studios was just like, well, we have to let them make at least one choice in this movie, so I guess that's happening.
I think you solved it.
Because her name's Michelle Jane now instead of Mary Jane? I don't know, it's weird. Now, I want to say this. I don't want to just totally, discount this actress as Mary Jane, okay? Because we have yet to see her actually be MJ to Peter Parker. So... I don't want to say anything negatively towards the actress or the character specifically. I just did not like that build up and that reveal. I thought that was a failed reveal.
I still love that character.
Yes.
I still thought the actress did great.
Uh-huh.
I'm interested to see her go forward as a Mary Jane character.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever love interest, or however they're going to do it. It's just weird to me now that if that's really what they're doing now, from now and through the rest of Marvel Cinematic Universe, Mary Jane is just named Michelle.
Yeah.
I haven't reconciled that yet. And it seems like a weird thing probably for me to grab onto so hard. I just don't understand why. It's
the one thing in the movie that happened that made me go, everything else was so fun and exciting, and then that happened, and I was just like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And what if they change her name to Michelle? What difference does it make? I don't know. It just doesn't feel right.
I mean, except it's Mary Jane, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's Peter's girl.
Yeah.
Well, except Gwen, I guess. Which also begs the question, are we just going to skip Gwen Stacy, or is she going to come in there at some point?
They got plenty of time.
They do have plenty of time, I guess, because technically Gwen should be his high school sweetheart, and then he should go to Mary Jane.
Are they gonna do that thing like Smallville did, where they're like, hey, this is MJ, and then she dies 2 movies in, and they're like, oh, well, she's dead, but here's her sister. Her sister's name is Mary.
Like they did with Jimmy Olsen?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so dumb.
Yeah, it's the worst.
No, they're not going to do that. I just... does it feel like her character seems very different, though, too, for, like, a Mary Jane character? Because I always think of Mary Jane as being the hot, unobtainable, supermodel type character, right? Like, Gwen was more the sweet, you know, like girl next door type of girlfriend, and Mary Jane was the hot girlfriend, right?
And this character so far was like neither of
exactly.
those, you know?
Yeah, she's very different from those two personifications. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's very possible they could be just doing that thing where they're like, well, we're modernizing all of this, so we'll just change the story a bit.
I think I'd correct me if I'm wrong, but when Mary Jane was first introduced, she was talked about several times and never shown for a while.
Oh yeah, they didn't show her face and stuff for a long time.
And then all of a sudden they did the face of Tiger. You just hit the jackpot. It was basically Peter's like a friend of Aunt May's niece or something like that. And she kept trying to set her up with it, and Peter kept blowing it off. And then all of a sudden it was this super attractive redhead.
Yeah.
When it finally did work out. But I remember that character being not standoffish necessarily, but I mean super confident.
Yeah.
And sort of a loner on the level where like she wasn't like the prissy popular type girl.
Gotcha.
She didn't run with like a big group of friends or anything like that. I could totally see a similarity here.
Okay.
Like this girl's more outcast than I would put Mary Jane with, but I can see a definite parallels between personality types at least, because this girl, even though she's not she doesn't lack confidence at any point, she's just totally doing her own thing and doesn't care.
The part where she waved at him and then flipped him off when he was coming into the dance, I lost it. I was like, I don't even know why that's so funny, but it is. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so the reveal was dumb, but I'm excited to see where they go with
the character was great.
I want to see I want to see where that goes for sure.
Call me a purist. I just wanted her to be named Mary Jane.
Yeah, I know exactly.
And also the other thing I don't want them to do is try to fix it later by being like, oh, she's just not MJ anymore. Yeah, and there isn't a Mary Jane now. Like I don't see the fix to this. That's my problem. I don't see how this blends into, and maybe it doesn't need a fix. I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I'm not trying to be too much of a stickler.
Yeah, let's not let this one thing bring the whole movie down. The movie was so good.
Yeah, it's just that like I said, I don't know. I the only two things I can think of are, the classic character has a brand new name now, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Or, they're going to tease that she's this girl and then completely not be, and that's equally as dumb at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll go with that. Hey, did you notice that when Liz was leaving and, like, saying her goodbyes, like, she hugged one of her friends in the school right before she said goodbye to Peter, and that girl that she hugged was a blonde-haired girl with a black headband. And I don't know if that was supposed to mean anything, but it was totally like, is that like a Gwen, like, nod, or what's going on there? Because Gwen always had the blonde hair with the black headband. That was, like, her iconic look, right? Also, I wonder, like, with the popularity of Spider-Gwen these days, I know that's kind of like an alternate reality thing, but do you think that they would do something like that in the MCU?
Eventually. Absolutely.
So, because now that I'm thinking about it, why wouldn't they bring Gwen Stacy into the movies? Because she's so popular right now with the Spider-Gwen character.
I keep hearing about Spider-Gwen. I have no idea what is going on with that.
Yeah, I don't know entirely, but I think it's one of those like alternate, like, what if Gwen was the Spider-Man instead of Peter?
Yeah, she just got bit instead of Peter.
I think that's kind of what it is. But they got that whole Spider-Verse thing going on now where there's just like all these people with spider powers crossing over from the different like realities.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's nuts. It's hard.
So lost.
I only know from like the outside. I haven't really kept up with a lot of it, so I don't know. But Spider-Gwen's got a cool look, and I know she's very popular. So
that can't be her superhero name, can it?
That's what the book is.
That's what I say. That's what the book's called. But people aren't looking up, going, "Look, it's Spider-Gwen."
That would give it away.
Yeah, I would think. But I will say, as far as her being sort of an alternative universe thing anyway, technically so is Miles Morales, and they hinted at him.
Yes.
In this.
Although that's kind of cool that they hinted at him in this, because I feel like that's a great way to acknowledge his existence in the universe for down the line when this kid's done, or Peter Parker's done being Spider-Man, they have an instant boom. Miles Morales is here to be Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like, they basically set something up in case they ever need to bring that in. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Basically what they did here is Donald Glover's character is a character from the comics who is, I think, a cat burglar of sorts named the Prowler, I believe.
Yeah.
But he's not ever actually in costume or anything. He's just a petty criminal in this particular movie. but they do a throwaway line where Peter's trying to interrogate him and about some of the alien weaponry that's out there, and he's basically like, look, I'm on your side for that goes. I don't need that stuff floating all over the city. I got a nephew out there, and I don't want him getting his hands on any of that stuff. Well, in the comics, this character is the uncle of Miles Morales,
That's awesome.
who eventually is Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe.
Neat little Easter egg for those in the know. And yeah, like I said, I think that's just their way of acknowledging it and setting it up for down the road when they need to use it. Because that would make him pretty young at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nephew could be anything.
Well, that's true. But I think, but that gives them time to, build to a Miles Morales Spider-Man if they ever want to do it.
He's out there now, and at any point they can show him at any age. It's like they've I guess technically confirmed one of those longtime fan theories. They say now the kid in Iron Man 2, towards the end, there's a point where the Iron Man bots or the Hammer bots or whatever they are, one of them is like zeroing in on this kid who is in an Iron Man mask.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Yep, I do. Remember that.
And then the kid pulls the mask off, and Iron Man comes in and ends up saving him. They're now saying officially, apparently, that was Peter Parker.
That was Peter?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so good.
So it's one of those things Tom Holland confirmed, and I don't think anybody's argued him or not. So I guess you can go ahead and take it as as canon. Yeah,
I like it.
With the timeline shifts that we know now, we know it's over 8 years between Iron Man 2 and Spider-Man. So I mean, the age range probably works fine.
Works out fine.
So,
Well, that's funny. That's good stuff.
That's another thing I was reading. Apparently, they will not let Tom Holland see any of the pages for the Avengers scripts other than his own, because they're starting to get a little perturbed by how many things he leaks. Because he's like he mentioned the trilogy. They hadn't said anything about further Spider-Man movies, and then one day, a couple of weeks ago, Tom Holland's like, "Yeah, we're doing 3, by the way." Oh, I don't think I was supposed to say that, but I guess I did. So we're doing 3, by the way.
He's like just an excited kid. He is Peter Parker.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so good. So what did you think about Spidey's suit in this movie?
Real quick, we almost forgot when we were talking about the Donald Glover character. The most exciting thing for you, I think, from the whole movie.
Troy and Abed are both now in the MCU. Abed's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, and Troy is in the Spider-Man universe. That's amazing.
Yep. And the Dean.
Troy and Abed in the MCU.
Yeah. And the Dean works for MIT? Was that where they were in Iron Man 3?
That's right.
Or no, it wasn't in Iron Man 3. It was Civil War, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. The Dean.
So.
Drive-by Deanie.
Yeah, we love Community so much.
Good.
That's the this movie here, this Spider-Man movie, is probably the most excited I'll ever be going to a theater. Somewhere in the top 5 eventually, I'm hoping, though, will be a Community movie.
Oh my God, if they ever do that.
6 seasons in a movie.
They have to, right? They have to make a commitment to the 6 seasons in a movie thing.
You'd think. They got their 6 seasons. You wouldn't think they'd be able to stop at this point. Anyways, you were asking?
The spider suit. In this one, we got a very technological spider suit, which isn't something we've seen in the previous movies. I mean, it was basically an Iron Man costume. It talked to him and everything. What did you think of that?
I thought it was a neat spin on stuff. It was nothing I've ever really seen before. But I thought it looked great.
It looked super
good.
And
I loved the interaction between Peter and the suit when the time came for all that stuff, and all the things it could do. Yeah. I adored all that. I thought it made perfect sense from a storyline standpoint because they were doing the Iron Man thing. So it was very much a takeoff of when Tony recruited Peter in the Civil War comics, and then part of that deal was like, oh, by the way, why don't I just build you a suit?
The Iron Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
He had that suit for a while.
So it was very much like a throwback to that sort of comic book thing. So it wasn't completely unfounded. At the same time, we've never seen it done like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was very cool. I liked it a lot.
They did the web fluid stuff in this movie, which was cool. He even ran out of it. Like, they kind of made
They did a bunch of scenes where he was basically popping cartridges.
Cartridges and stuff. That was really cool. I loved the different types and him discovering all the different types, which was great because he's always used the different types in the book. So it was fun seeing him, like, figure out all these different, like, web shots and trying to make them work. Also, when he accidentally activated the kill mode and the eyes like turned all black with the little red dots. It's like kill mode activated. He was like, no, I don't want to kill anyone. That was good. That was really good. Like the eyes got all evil.
I like how Tony programmed a kill mode into
I know, right? I do love all of the little protocols that were in there, like when they hacked the suit and everything, and they had like the training wheels protocol, and then when he found out it was like filming everything he was doing, it was like the babysitting protocol, baby monitor protocol. Yeah, that was good stuff. Got that great Stark humor in there, which is awesome.
They did that bit where they figured it out as they were tracking one of the bad guys. They figured out that Peter was being tracked also, and I think he wasn't even on the phone with either Tony or Happy, and he's like, I really think you guys watching me when without my permission is a real big invasion of privacy. And his buddy Ned's pointing at the tracking device they have on the bad guy, like, what? And he's like, that's different.
That's different, yeah. Hey, Ned was great.
He was great.
Oh my gosh, it was fun.
Everyone in this movie was fantastic.
It was fun watching Spider-Man have like a little sidekick character like that.
There was not a fault in the cast anywhere. There wasn't even I mean, from the supporting characters on, even the gym teacher. Why am I blank?
Oh my gosh.
Hannibal Buress. Yeah. That was my only other complaint for this movie, was my complaint for almost every movie. Not enough Hannibal Buress. He was only in a couple of scenes, but that dude's reactions to stuff. One of the shticks in this movie was that they were showing a bunch of Captain America training videos, like at the schools and stuff.
These were so great.
And the first one they show is they're in the gym class, and Captain America's introducing like some sort of exercise protocol or whatever, and it's supposed to be this pep up for the kids to do. And so he's talking to them on this video screen, and I remember it felt super awkward when they first showed it, because I'm like, isn't this after Civil War? Should they still be showing this? But he finishes his spiel, and then Hannibal Buress comes on and is like, all right, you heard the man, even though I'm pretty sure this dude's some sort of war criminal right now, but we're still going to do what he says.
I know! I died, dude! I laughed so hard. I was like, oh my god, that is brilliant. Also, like, he introduced the gym teacher and pointed to the right, and the gym teacher was
standing
on the left.
Yep. But it felt so high school, because how many times did you see things in high school where you're like, well, clearly that was recorded a while back.
Yeah.
And they just haven't bothered to pay for a new one to be taped, So it just felt like a sort of outdated thing. And you remember this was just after Civil War. So
even though I'm pretty sure this dude's a war criminal now. That was so good. Oh my god, yeah, those were great cameos by Captain America. And for the after credits scene, we got more of that, which was really, really funny, because they saved it for the very, very last one, and then the entire thing was like about patience and paying off, because that's all it was him.
And how sometimes it doesn't pay off.
And how sometimes it's disappointing.
Yeah.
That was good. That was really good. So let's talk about some of the other villain cameos we saw in this movie. Actually, cameos, period, because there were a lot of cool little things that if you really paid attention to, you saw. We talked about Miles already.
Well, they weren't all cameos, though. I mean, there were other villains other than the Vulture in this movie.
Yes,
we had two shockers.
Two shockers. Yeah. Oh my god.
Which was just so fitting for the character.
It's funny to me how Shocker is just this ongoing like running joke of being the lame Spider-Man villain. Like, that's seriously, like, they just keep treating him that way, I feel like, awesome. in all the media and stuff. So, like, we have Shocker 1, who gets vaporized by Vulture when he, like, disobeys him, and then he hands the glove off to another guy, and he's like, you're the Shocker now, and we immediately get the second Shocker. Like, it's so funny that they just transition from Shocker 1 to Shocker 2 like that in the same movie.
You remember I don't remember which one it was, but one of the open world Spider-Man video games from probably 10 years ago.
It was from one of the Tobey movies.
Oh, right? Was it from one of the movies?
Because wasn't Spider-Man
I was thinking
2?
it was, no, I think it was the standalone. I think it was the one that came out after, because Spider-Man 3 had an open world game, but then after that there was another Spider-Man game that was more like comic based.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was that one, but I don't even remember what it was called. But it was one of those open world swing through the city Spider-Man games, and in those, every once in a while you'll just come across petty criminals. like a gang will be robbing a bank or holding up a store or something like that. And you can choose to pop down and fight them if you want, or you can continue on with your mission. Well, in one of them, every fifth time you'd find a gang of people robbing a bank, it would be the Shocker.
Yeah.
And you would just fly down out of the sky, pulverize him, and then move on to the actual mission.
Right. So that's kind of like, we just got that treatment.
That's exactly what I kept thinking of this whole movie. I'm like, well, they're holding true to the character. Right. He's just the Shocker.
And like he never wore like the Shocker mask, but I like how his suit, both of the guys, wore the jacket that had like the pattern on it of like Shocker's costume, like the yellow sleeves with like the crisscross, and they had like the Shocker gloves. So that was kind of fun.
And Bokeem Woodbine's a recognizable face.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And so it wasn't just like a complete throwaway or anything like that. It was, and he was great.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
He didn't have a lot to do. The Tinkerer was also one of Vulture's guys.
Yes, he was the guy making all the weapons and stuff for him. Yeah,
and I really feel like, I mean, these weren't all huge high class villains, but I felt like this was sort of the argument to all the people who are like, well, part of the problem with some of these Spider-Man movies is they just cram them so full, which has been. I mean, that was the problem with 3. Is they shoved Venom in to a movie that Venom didn't belong in.
Yes.
And then had to work the whole thing around him. A big part of the problem with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 was that they had 3 full-on villains and then tried to cram in at least references to like 5 others. It was just bogged down.
Yes.
You know? And then I feel like this one is the one go, well, you know what? There is a way to shove 10 villains into a movie. You just give each one the proper time. And in some cases, the proper time isn't necessarily equal time. The proper time is one guy gets 90% of it, and the others get 10 to split up.
Yeah,
you know, so
absolutely.
it can't. You've got such a wide variety. You don't have to wait 100 years worth of Spider-Man movies to see all of these villains. You just have to give proper story time to each one based on whatever movie you're making. And so I say, you had 3 named villains in this movie, plus references to others, and at no point did you feel bogged down.
Yeah, exactly. Like Scorpion was in there too.
Yeah. Yep. And he wasn't Scorpion, but Matt Gordon.
He's not Scorpion yet,
Matt
but the
Gordon
guy
was in there,
the
so
guy who will become Scorpion was there.
So they set it up.
And I just thought that was cool because it's like you get to see all these guys existing in the world. And you know that there's a reason for them all eventually becoming the supervillains that they're going to become, or you know what I'm. And I thought it was just handled really well.
Yep.
Like you said, with the comparison to Spider-Man 3 and stuff, it's a perfect comparison of how to handle it the right way and how to do it the wrong way. And this was definitely done the right way because Vulture was far and away the villain of the movie. Those other guys just exist in the same world, and it's good to know that. It's cool to see that. So yeah, that was really, really well done. Betty Brant was in the high school. She was like on the incredibly cheesy like the TV studio there in the school, like the news broadcaster, which was hilarious. That was good stuff. That was another thing I was kind of like thinking about. I was like, man, it'd be so great to see J. Jonah Jameson reference here soon at some point.
I tell you what.
Also, if J.K. Simmons just shows up as J. Jonah Jameson, I will be so happy about that.
I was about to say, eventually, like I'm excited to see Jonah in the MCU.
Yeah.
I'm also dreading seeing a Jonah that isn't J.K. Simmons. Exactly. I'm sure they'll find somebody awesome, and I'm sure I'll forget about it as soon as I see him. But as of right now, I'm not looking forward to that.
Right. Aunt May. One of the things that I loved about this movie was how they constantly beat us over the head with how hot Aunt May was. That was hilarious. I feel like that was them like reacting to everybody's response to her being cast as Aunt May. So they were just like, well, let's just beat everybody over the head with how hot she is. Because they just make that joke like through the whole movie.
Which I think they knew going into it that was the response they'd get and everything. So I'm sure that was part of the plan. But yeah, absolutely. Because they start off with Stark saying something about her at the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, and you're kind of like, oh, that's funny. But then it just sort of, you know, everybody Peter runs into, like, hey, how's your aunt doing?
Yeah.
You doing okay? You know? Like they went to the Chinese restaurant.
And she got free food.
Thai, the Thai restaurant, and she was getting, like, extra food just delivered to her. Yeah.
I think he larbs you. Oh, man. Yeah, that was really, really funny. So, the one end credit scene too, talking about the villains. What did you think about that mid credit scene?
I loved that mid credit.
So we basically got to see Vulture in prison, and he's there in prison with the man who will become Scorpion, who basically confronts him. And he's just like, oh, what are the chances of us both being in the same cell block or whatever? So, hey, I hear you might know who the Spider-Man is. There's a lot of guys on the outside who want that information. And he's just basically like, nope. If I would have known who he was, I'd have killed him or whatever. So like, I guess that was just kind of our way of saying that Vulture is just going to keep the secret or whatever for like the respect.
For now, at least, you know. Well, and
you think it's a respect thing for being saved?
I think that's the thing that, you know, he talked about that a couple of times. Like, remember when like they built this guy up so perfectly because he wasn't that bad of a guy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like he did bad things for good motivation, which is not to say, you know, he doesn't deserve the jail time or whatever. But it is to say that he had, you know, roots in respect and admiration for Peter. You know, he saw them as like two sides of the same coin there.
Right.
You know, they're both just trying to protect they're both trying to do the right thing by how they define it. And you remember he had saved everything Vulture did was for his family.
Yes.
Peter saved his daughter's life.
Yes.
You know, and then saved his life.
Yes.
At the end there too, and everything. And he had told him several times, like, you know, like I respect what you're doing. I like your gumption. All of that stuff. You know, you just got to get out of my way, or I'm gonna have to kill you. Well, at the end, when Peter had the chance to just let him die and chose to save him instead, I think that's that moment where he's like, well, now the only thing he can do to protect that family that he's done all of this to protect is make life going forward as easy on them as he can, which is why he tried to send them to a different state, and he doesn't want them around for the trial and stuff. They mentioned that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing he can do is, you know, he knows, he knows what a good guy Peter is. He is stuck where he is regardless.
Right.
You know? So you can think / hope, because I'd like to see him again in a villain role at some point, that there's some revenge play at the back of his mind somewhere, but at the same token, he gains nothing from outing this kid at this point. You know?
Right.
Like, all that's going to do is make him look even worse to his family.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. That was a neat little scene there. So I will say, too, as we were kind of nearing the end of the movie there, I started really feeling myself hoping to see some sort of a nod or reveal, and I was even maybe hoping that the credit scene would kind of give us a look at Norman Osborn. And I didn't want that at first, especially since he's been basically in all of the Spider-Man movies so far. Like, we've already done Norman to death and the Green Goblin thing, and it wasn't even handled well at all in the Amazing movies, I didn't think. So I understand why they wanted to...
Not even kind of.
No, not even kind of. It was terrible. So I understand why they wanted to just not acknowledge that. But I liked this movie so much that by the end of it, I was like, okay, I want to see MCU's Norman now. And we didn't really get that. But obviously, this is plenty of time to build to a Norman now. With more movies on the way and the MCU and everything. So
I think it would have been cool to see like an Oscorp building.
Yes. So that we knew he was there.
I didn't need to see a Norman. I'm still... We've talked about kind of what comes next after Thanos, and it's all fanboy dreaming, you know?
Yeah.
But I've said a couple of times, I don't expect Fox to cut any deals, but my ultimate fanboy dream for Phase 4 going forward is once they get done with Thanos, if somehow they can get Dr. Doom, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be a great big villain for the MCU.
They don't talk about it at all. There's no way to know if that's even a remote possibility. 2 years ago, I would have told you no chance. I just watched a Marvel Spider-Man movie in conjunction with Sony, so literally anything is possible at this point.
Yes.
I would not be overly shocked if Lex Luthor was in play. You know, well, that's what I'm saying. Like like anything can happen at this point. So maybe that'll be it. However, short of that, when you start looking around, going, well, who in the MCU? I mean, they've got Loki, and they've stretched him probably about as far as he's going to go.
Yeah.
As far as being a big bad for the entire universe. They've got Thanos that they're about to run up against. I mean, that well's going to run dry in 1 to 2 movies, however they're doing it.
Right.
They've got to have some overarching storylines for Phase 4, 5, 6, whatever. If they could do Doom, that would be amazing. If they can't do Doom, Norman ain't a bad stand-in.
Norman would be a good big boss.
And so I think it's super wise to sort of just play that hand low, not try to rush too much into, hey, don't forget we got this guy too.
Yeah.
Just sort of let it happen and see where they are and what they need him for at the time.
And what if they didn't even do the Goblin thing right away, and they kind of started him out as Norman Osborn, head of Hammer, and they even kind of put him up against Tony, and they do that sort of storyline with him, right? And they can do that first. It would totally make sense in the MCU to do that side of the story first. We could do the Norman Iron Patriot. I know we already got War Machine's version of Iron Patriot, but in the comics that was Norman. Norman was the Iron Patriot, wore that armor. So that might be, I don't know if they would even go that route, but that'd be something kind of cool to see,
it keeps it open. If they cast a Norman for 10 seconds of this movie, not knowing what they're going to do with him in the future for sure, then they've sort of, they've blown their hand at that point. They've showed too much. If they sit back and wait, so see where they are in a couple years here. I also they have said that Spider-Man Homecoming 2, or which I'm sure will not be called that, but
Homecoming again.
Spider-Man Junior Year or whatever they do call it,
Spider-Man Prom
is apparently going to start. It begins literally minutes after Avengers 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
And because that's the year they're both coming out in 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it'll be May of 2019 for Avengers, and then the next one is June or July again for Spider-Man. And so it just picks up right there. So by the second movie, we will have, or we may not, they will have a better idea probably of what their big plans are going forward, and they'll have more parts in place, and so maybe that'll be a great time to at least introduce him.
Sweet.
But we'll I'm happy waiting for that one.
Absolutely.
I want to see it done. I want to see an MCU Goblin story.
Yeah,
I really do.
Too.
I know they've done it to death in the old movies, and so I don't mind them waiting a couple to run it, but I would love to see it. But I'm fine with them waiting.
Spidey's got a great rogues gallery, though.
We've
talked about that before. His rogues gallery is comparable to Batman's rogues gallery. He's got a great set of villains that I would love to see the MCU tackle now.
And even the ones we have seen, I don't mind seeing a new Doc Ock.
Doc Ock's a great Spider-Man villain.
Yeah, we sort of saw the Rhino, but I barely count that.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a decent Rhino, and again, a lot of these guys don't have to be big bads.
Right.
You can open a movie with a Rhino fight.
Yeah, Rhino. Yeah. Electro, Mysterio.
Similar to what they did. With the MCU, or with the MCU, similar to what they did with Amazing Spider-Man 2 at the end.
Yeah, where he just kind of fought Rhino there at the end.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily have to lead into anything huge. They can just kind of throw it in there. And kids will still buy the toys.
Totally.
It'll look awesome. The fans will love it. Everybody wins as long as the story is built right around it. So, which again, no reason to think it won't be. This movie was awesome.
It was so good. I love it. I had so much fun with it. I am very excited about Spider-Man again as far as films go. I can't wait to see what else we're going to get with this character and this actor.
We haven't talked about the end yet. The actual end we almost forgot about. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep,
we do need to bring that up.
Well, first of all, this, when you want to talk about when you're always looking for the connections and how much fun, part of the fun of the MCU is seeing how the movies play together. This had pretty big repercussions as far as the overarching Marvel universe, or at least the Spider-Man or the Iron Man portion of it.
Yeah.
Because when they do the bit where Peter beats the Vulture, Tony brings him back in, brings him to the new Avengers tower. Or it's not a tower anymore.
It's
I guess.
The new headquarters
the compound.
That they got in. Yeah.
Basically, he's telling him, hey, I did a great job of mentoring you. You pulled through. You're everything I hoped you would be. So we want to make you a full-fledged Avenger now. We've got all these press guys behind there. We're going to do a big reveal. Here's your new suit. Yeah. All this stuff. And Peter's like, I think you were right the first time. I'm going to try the grounded thing for a while, and I appreciate this.
I'm happy just being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yep. It's like, cool. I got to say no for now. And, Tony's like, okay, great, all right, and so Peter goes to wait in the car or whatever, and goes, and as he's leaving, he turns around and he's like, hey, this was a test, right? There's nobody really back there, is there? And Tony's like, yep, just a test, don't worry about it.
You passed, good job.
You passed, yay. And so he leaves. Well, when he leaves, shortly thereafter, the door opens, and Pepper Potts comes strolling
Who we
through.
haven't seen forever.
Well, remember in Civil War they had broken up.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was part of like Tony's heartache, when they did that scene with Dean Pelton in it.
That's right.
They mentioned how she had left him for whatever reason and everything, and now so apparently they've reconciled because they were very, they were clearly together again. They did a bit where it looked like he might propose. Like,
because the press was waiting
I'm
for
pretty
something.
sure he probably did in this movie, just off camera.
Yeah.
And so that was when she walked through. I got super happy because, like I said, that's a big deal for the Marvel universe.
Totally.
When there was no Pepper anymore, I was like, oh, bummer. And now she's back. So
now
it's not.
Pepper again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that drives full movies, but it's a cool character arc.
How Ben Reilly did the Avengers Spider-Man costume look? That's all I could think of when I saw it.
Very Ben Reilly.
I was like, it's got the big Ben Reilly spider on it. This is amazing.
Well, and the homemade costume, as is displayed right here on my microphone so proudly, is it has a very Scarlet Spider feel to it.
Absolutely. It's like reverse Scarlet Spider. The colors are just backwards.
Yeah.
I know. I love it.
And so I love and they don't mention, that's
I love how
it's just the fact that they throw it out there and we can look at it and go, maybe they didn't plan on that to look like that, but it does, and It's awesome.
Also, I love that he just didn't take it, and then when he went home, he just had the normal Spider-Man suit still. I kind of loved that.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's great.
Because Tony gave it back to him.
Yeah, Tony.
Which led into the actual ending of the movie.
That's right.
Yeah, because they he's got this bag on his bed that just says, this belongs to you, TS. And he opens it up, and it's the Spider-Man suit, presumably with all the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
And so he kind of has this smile moment, and he starts to put it on, and as he's putting it on, he's standing there in his room, and they do the camera pan around, and standing in the doorway right behind him is Aunt May, just staring at him in the Spider-Man suit.
Getting dressed in the Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, and she just gives what the... And it
just cuts to the credits.
Yeah. And it was, and I read the comparisons about this today because I watched the first Iron Man earlier in this week.
Yeah.
And so very much at the end of that movie, when Tony's supposed to be giving his speech to the press about how Iron Man is his bodyguard and this and that and whatever, and he just basically drops the ball or the bomb. I am Iron Man.
I'm Iron Man.
And boom, cut right to the credits. And I immediately caught that correlation because I had just seen it a few days earlier. I was like, oh, that was kind of neat, but I didn't put a lot of thought into it. And then I was reading more about it today, and they were talking to Kevin Feige and a couple of the John Watts and just, the creative minds behind it. And they were like, totally, like, we loved that parallel.
Yeah.
Like we thought it felt very much like the end of the first Iron Man, which really was kind of one of those big surprise moments. And we don't get a lot of those that are legitimate because everything... people see it coming and they have a lot of things. So we really thought, basically, my fear when I saw it was, that was awesome, but is that going to be one of those things that they totally cop out? Like in Spider-Man 2, they just explain that she thought it was a Halloween costume or something, and then it's done. But they're basically, they appear to be all in on the idea of basically like, we've never really done this in this way. We've never really seen this dynamic between... Aunt May and Peter. There's been versions of Aunt May I know that have known in the comics and stuff, so like not necessarily never, but at least in movies and whatnot, we've never really explored this territory. And so we thought it would be a neat, fun way to do it, to just open that up going forward for that to be. So apparently she just knows now.
All right.
And it was done in a super cool way.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was really funny. It was they ended the movie on the same fun note that they started it with, basically, because it was a funny like laugh moment. Everybody in the theater kind of laughed when it happened, and then the movie ended, and everybody felt good. Yep. That's how I felt.
And then they had those cool, like, little cartoony pictures coming through. Just goofy little cartoons with, just this high-energy music playing. I can't remember what song it was now. Like, I can almost hear it in my head, and I can't remember. It's a real famous song that was playing.
Was that when they were doing Blitzkrieg Bop?
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah. Yep.
I loved how the opening Marvel credits had the Spider-Man music, the old Spider-Man theme song.
Was awesome. I will say too, there was so much. I mean, we're focusing on all the Spider-Man stuff here because it's a nerd podcast we're doing.
Right.
Geek podcast, I guess. Whatever. We're all the same now. But a lot of this movie, and a lot of the reason it was so endearing is because a lot of this movie was just a high school comedy also.
Totally.
It really was, you know. I mean, a high school comedy with a kid who can climb walls, but still, it really, I had heard a lot going into it about how they were going for sort of a John Hughes feel. And then I had heard a lot from critics how they had sort of achieved a John Hughes feel.
Oh, that makes sense for Michelle now. She totally feels like that girl from Breakfast Club.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that for sure. But, you know, you hear stuff like that and you think, well, that sounds neat. I hope that works out well. You don't really, until you're experiencing it in a theater, really seeing how that plays out. Like, that is exactly what this was. This felt like an old school 80s high school comedy that just happened to have superheroes in it and be very well done on all levels. You know, it was one of those meshes of genres, essentially.
Totally.
That I love so much, as you know, if you listen.
Absolutely. Well, it was great. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about or touch base with? I think we pretty much covered.
Talk about this movie nonstop for days.
I'm ready to see it again.
I'm going in the morning.
This is definitely. Oh, that's so great! You get to take the kids. Yeah, this is definitely one of those movies that's gonna be a multiple viewing movie for me. I'm just excited to see Spider-Man again.
I will say I'm gonna break a personal rule, and I'm not gonna hold myself to it. You guys can choose whether you do or not. I always chastise the people who walk out of a movie going, "That was the best. That was the best.
Yeah.
That was the best." But this is my favorite Spider-Man movie, and that was right up there at the very least in my top 2 favorite Marvel villains.
Ooh. Oh, villains, yeah. Absolutely, I agree with you with the villain. And Tom Holland is my favorite movie, Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He was great.
And I believe
time
will tell that this is my favorite MCU movie.
Think so?
I mean, I would be shocked if it wasn't.
Okay.
I'm such a Spider-Man fan.
I mean, yeah, you know? Absolutely.
Like I said, like he's my pinnacle as far as characters go. So if you make a good movie with my favorite character,
of course,
that's going to be what I gravitate towards.
Of course.
You know? Yeah. So yeah, I'm so impressed.
It was amazing. It was spectacular. It was web of. I larbed it. That's my review. If you put just put that right there. That's the headline.
I hope you've been practicing that all day.
I've had that in my head like since we started recording.
You just nailed it.
I can't wait to say it. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Well,
yeah, let us know what you guys think.
Definitely let us know. Since we're kind of doing this a little shorter notice than normal, I didn't actually collect any questions, so I apologize for that.
Well, hey, this was our Spider-Man Homecoming special.
That's right, exactly.
So, yeah.
It's been a while since we've done a full, we spent an hour and 40 minutes just talking about a movie, and it's been a while since we've done that. So that was kind of cool, but I think that also shows how excited and happy we were about this movie. Like, we had a lot of things to say about it.
And we'll probably be bringing it up through the next several episodes.
That's right. You guys
remember
Spider-Man Homecoming?
Yeah.
How great was that? That's going to be the next several episodes.
Yeah. And we're in July now, so 4 more months until Thor, and then 3 more months until Black Panther, and then 3 more months after that until Infinity War.
God, I can't believe we're already at Infinity War.
There, which means more Spider-Man in under a year.
Yay! I'm excited. Excellent. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for our Spider-Man Homecoming review. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you guys also enjoyed the movie as much as us, but definitely let us know. Feel free to post your comments on our Facebook page, facebook.com/geekeasypodcast. We'd love to hear from you guys, and of course,
specifically let us know what you think about the movie. I'm really interested to see how it plays with a wider audience.
Definitely, it seems like it's very, very positive response.
Yeah,
like I'm not sure I've seen anything negative yet. I'm sure it's out there, but like everybody just seems so happy with this movie, and I love seeing people be excited about Spider-Man again, like us. So that's very, very cool. But definitely check out the Facebook page. Like it if you haven't already. That's also where we will collect questions for future episodes. So if you ever have something you want to ask us, that is the place to do it. As far as the podcast goes, the audio version of this show is streaming in several different podcast locations. So you can download us on iTunes, on Google Play, on Stitcher, on the Podbean app. So basically anywhere that plays podcasts should be able to find us through the Geek Easy feed. Definitely please follow us, rate us, give us a review. That all of that stuff helps us spread the word on the show.
Click that subscribe button and then pop a little review in there, and then listen to your heart's content.
That's right. Definitely do that. And of course, if you prefer the video version or you like watching the video version after listening to the audio, we do have a YouTube channel as well. So just do a search for Geek Easy Podcast, and you can find the full video version of the podcast there as well. So lots of different ways to enjoy the show. That's great. There's always everybody that's got their own preferences, so we try to put it out there for everybody to enjoy whichever way they like to do it the best.
We don't want you to have any excuses not to listen.
That's right. We make it easy for you, so do us a favor and subscribe somewhere. One of those things. All of them would be great, but one of those things is very helpful for us. All right, well, that's going to wrap up this installment of the Geek Easy Podcast. So until next time, I am Pixel Dan.
And I love Spider-Man.
Also, I do too. Take care, my friends.
Spider-Blue, Spider-Blue, he's so blue, 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 blue. Why is he blue? We don't know, but he's blue, and it's cool. Look out! Here comes the Spider-Blue, here comes the Spider-Blue, here comes the Spider-Blue. Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan. I'm Pixel Dan. Hey guys. Blue Spike. This is so weird. Blue Spider-Man. Figures. Blue Spider-Man. This is so weird. Blue Spider-Man. Figures. Here comes the Spider-Blue. Here comes the Spider-Blue. Here comes the Spider-Blue. Spider-Blue. He's so blue, 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 blue. Why is he blue? We don't know, but he's blue, and it's cool. Look out! Here comes the Spider-Blue. Here comes the Spider-Blue. Here comes the Spider-Blue.